when you say organized, do you fear that a lot of undercutting happens? Because one of the biggest complaints that we have seen is companies, like you said, big firms, Livespace, Brick and Bolt. There are multiple others, right? Build a home, whatever it is. So when design and build has come into picture, a lot of complaint has been that okay, they promise 45 days, but they never deliver it in 45 days,
Yes.
or the quality is a problem because yes, it is organized. Yes, it is one point of contact, but the delivery has always been a challenge. Do you see that in your firm or your scale as well, or is it only to do with the bigger firms like them?
No, see, it depends on firm to firm how they promise. Okay, and yes, there's a lot of companies who overpromise, and at least we try not to overpromise. But sometimes we do fail on promises because it's common for in our firm to like because of a lot of external factors to slip on dates. But one thing is, yes, these companies when they are promising 45 days and not delivering it in time they will achieve it because they are finding issues in their system and fixing it, which is overall better for the industry. One thing is whichever firms are over promising and not delivering, they are getting they are in name in the affected in the industry. But other firms who are promising and delivering, it's good for them. And this pressure is actually improving the entire industry. Like it's making the whole industry efficient. So just because somebody else is promising 45 days, the competitor is forced to look into options to make things better, which means it becomes better for each and every one of us to look into more creative ways to make things more efficient. And when you think and you become a little bit more creative and become more, can solve the problem in a better way, immediately you'll be more recognized. So I'm not only talking about companies, even individuals who's working in the company. An individual, if he or she is like doing something different, which immediately the system recognizes that person. Okay, this person is doing something different, which is meeting the targets, that is the timeline, way before others are doing. You'll be automatically recognized. So I feel it's everything is an advantage. Disadvantage as well as an opportunity for others to pick up.
So there is a very similar ideology that I see from interior firms. Let's say compare it with the delivery firms, delivery companies, which is one of my favorite example has always been the food delivery, where the promise was not on quality, promise was on time. Before construction, projects were never promised for time. It was more into the quality and cost. Once interior firms have come in, they are promising on time as well, like 40 days, 30 days, we will do it, we will do it. The same thing I see with what happened with the Swiggies, the Zomatos, 30-minute delivery, 15-minute delivery. So one, yes, I do agree that there is a lot of organized way of doing things right now because of this over promise and under perform. But do you also see the change in terms of mentality from individual clients? So because he handles with a lot of B2B, like business clients, right? Corporate clients. Yours is individual as well as corporate. So when you see individual clients, do they have some demands where you're shocked, or where you are like, okay, what came to your mind to decide this kind of a requirement?
Yes, you actually touched on a good point. So every client's demand is unique, and which luckily more than us, the designers takes the complete hit. But yeah, what comes only for us is when it comes to our plate, it is only comes to timeline and information, because I specify the word information because like especially unlike the corporate clients or a client who's done some 2 3 homes or anybody, they know how things can go wrong. But a residential client will need more information way before they find out something is going wrong, and also immediately they panic a little bit more. So obviously, I'm not going to touch on the challenges in the design side because which is something which I think it won't help us because they have a lot of weird requirements. And as he rightly initially told, they need a palace for 10 lakhs. So like everybody has an expectation. So all that is design challenges. But our major biggest challenge, which I feel that we need to improve, is communication, so that they are comfortable with whatever is happening. Because whatever said and done, no sites can go smoothly. If sites are going smoothly, I don't think we all will have jobs. Like so, so I think the most important is communication. That is something which helps to keep the client calm, and making sure whatever we promise, the timeline we give, everything is achieved and things like that. So those are the requirements from. I mean, I think we can focus on something.
So taking from communication and information, that is why you have a lot of consultants in your projects as well, right? So almost all of your projects will have consultants. Normally in residential projects, it's more like client and contractor, but you have that consultant in between who is going to be a technical expert as well as mediate the entire thing. Hopefully, do a good job as well. So, how do you see a challenge, or what challenges do you face as a contractor when a consultant is in a project where they are interfering in everything and ruining it or helping it? How do you see it?
So for example, in my firm we have consultants in house. So whether for MEP or for AV, we have all consultants in house. So we don't normally face that issue of intervention, because we collaborate and get a good solution out of it. Architects, there will be designers, interior designers, there will be EGD, which is environmental graphics, and then MEP consultants, networking. For few things like lead and all, we do consult external consultants as well. But normally we sit across the table and try to find out issues. If MEP is having some issues, normally what happens is in drawings, especially for services, we get to see a lot of clashes. Somewhere duct is going on, then perpendicular you have another raceway going on. So all these are solved in house, and because we do in 3D, we have BIM, we have Revit. So those really help you, and you can easily find out where you have clashes and then solve within the team, and then what we present to client is error-free solution.
Now, there is one more challenge with corporate clients, which I feel is underrated. Which is in corporate clients, it's not one person who is taking the decision. A manager will say yes to the design, senior manager will say no to the design, the director will say yes to the design, the project director will say no to the design. So even though they are all in the same company, they are all the clients, you will have to convince 2 to 3 of them. How do you see that challenge as a contractor?
So this reminds me of external stakeholder management, which we had discussed some time back. So first of all, it's very important to listen to their grievances or why they're forcing such kind of issue with each stakeholder. So just listen to them, and because what happens is in few cases it might be a genuine reason also. So if we feel that okay, this thing has to be changed in our design, because in corporate what happens is most of the times we deal with people who are actually technically sound. We have people from facilities, we have people from who are good with technology. So we listen to them, and if we find out that that is something which we need to incorporate, or we could not suppose see that issue coming, but they have identified it. So we try to incorporate them, and then again revise our designs and present to them accordingly. But if at all we feel that it's not required, then we also give them a genuine reason of why it is not required. Even we go to an extent that even we do our background study. Suppose if we can give client a better solution in terms of, suppose they have a requirement of UPS and power, which is actually not required for the kind of office they are setting up. So we value engineer and we give them a better proposal, and in that way it's easier for them also to trust us, and that helps us also.
So the reason why we are talking about issues with stakeholder or communication is majority of the crowd here works in interior civil firms, not core civil. Most of them are design build firms. So for someone like you who are in the hiring positions, let's say you meet someone of their stature where they have just entered the industry in terms of interior and design build. What are those three things which you prefer them to have initially to grow? I'll start with you.
Okay. Okay. And before we answer this question, the stakeholder management, this issue will you'll find in residential also, where the couple will fight for the same requirement, and you will be like you'll be confused whether are you in family counseling or interiors. So you might reach to that situation. Just a thought just came to my mind. So yeah, let's start mentioning. Yeah, now coming to your question of what are the most important skills which I feel is something which is most important. First one is a good skill to read the drawings. I mean, I know this for a lot of people might sound this is very basic, but unfortunately, when we take a lot of interviews, we notice that a lot of people are not that great at reading the drawings. So once you get the drawings, you should be able to look at all the supporting documents, because sometimes one drawing is not something nobody can understand from one drawing. There'll be a lot of links to different drawings. There could be links to like different documents, because in the same sheet they might not give material details. Material details will be given in something. And once you look at the drawing, forget about 3D, once you look at the drawing, you should be able to imagine how the whole space works and the details of the space. Okay, and I would say this. If you ask me, the like this can be achieved. This can be achieved by you doing random sections. And I'm not saying something very related to construction or interiors. You take anything. In fact, just imagine a shoe. Just cut the shoe and think how the section of a shoe would be. Okay, and basically get a little bit of design mindset, basically, or a good imagination how things would be. Because a lot of people, which I notice, is really bad in reading drawings, where it becomes a problem at site, as well as because in the initial also, because you would be in the site level, although you will have supervisors to help you and all, is you need to read drawings. Second is accept when you don't know something and ask people. I mean, be free to learn new things, and be free to accept when you don't know. Because this, for some reason, a lot of people have that fear, saying that okay, if I say I don't know, I may lose my job, or if I say I don't know, yeah, I may be looked upon. Actually, because when you enter as a fresher, because you specified as a fresher, people accept that you don't know much, which is a good advantage for you guys. So feel free to ask. And by the way, it doesn't only mean entry. Even in the like any stage of your life, feel free to ask when you don't know anything. And it will cost the company a fortune if you assume something and go ahead and execute, and it becomes a bigger issue. Okay, many times your doubt will be a genuine doubt where it could lead to a design change. And many times it has happened in our firm, and many times. So don't hesitate to ask questions. So this is this is basically be ready to learn. The second point, and third point is like um, I would say I would give more importance to be ready to work in flexible hours, because and yeah, I think this I could say is a good point. Luckily, in residential, when it comes to gated communities, you'll have a very fixed time and you cannot go beyond it. But when you have projects which is open villas, like or villas which is not in the gated communities, or which is like any hospitality or clubhouses which is like hospitality. So there, you by the end of project, you might need to make sure things are done. So try to emphasize on getting things done in time, which means if you have to work a little bit more hours in specific time, specific days, get it done, and you can take you can relax later. So I think yeah, so especially the first 2 points is something which I will give more importance. Third one is something, yeah, lesser important, but yeah, it is like, yeah, you can consider that as an important point.
Is it something similar to corporate as well, or do you have some 3 more other things, or is it very similar? I mean, these are most probably generic to most of the jobs available, but is there something specific that might add in terms of corporates?
I think Nabeel has covered very good points, and it's generic, and even we do try to find those qualities in the candidate. Uh, the third point which he has told, it's like pretty common everywhere. Once you step out of this institute, be prepared to work for extended hours. Will not be like you'll be sitting in AC and there will be carpets, there will be good chairs and all. Most of the times we don't even have good office inside. We have a makeshift kind of an environment in this basic chair, table, and just work there. And be ready to sacrifice your social life a bit, your family time also, because we also work on Saturdays and Sundays. Because we work on fast track projects. Within say 2 to 3 months, we have to deliver 1 lakh, 2 lakh square feet. So it's not easy, and it's not possible if you don't extend your working hours. There will be, even in some cases, there will be different day shift and different night shift as well. So work happens almost like 24 hours a day sometimes. So you'll have to be mentally prepared for it. Because what happens even when we were in masters, this classroom training, AC chal raha hai, good times with friends. But once you actually get onto the field outside, it's mud, and you have to get into the mud, get your hands dirty, and be prepared for it. Uh, Another thing is we do look for at least a good basic communication skills in candidates, because uh, once you are in a project, or at the site, you represent the company. So the clients, they interact with you, and for him you are like a representative of the client. So it depends. Like if you are good at communication and you know how to handle them, I feel at the end of the day it's people management mostly what we do. We handle our vendors, we handle clients, we handle builders. So how you need to have a different kind of approach to each kind of stakeholder you have. So also you'll be required to speak with the workers outside, normal housekeeping guy outside. So and then maybe after 15 minutes you'll see the client coming in for a walkthrough. So your strategy will definitely change and how you communicate. So you need to know those the way how to handle people, and that kind of a lot of times it kind of helps to pacify stakeholders in case they are not sometimes they're not happy with the kind of progress and all. But if you know how to deal with those kind of situations, it's a very good plus point, and it will take you like higher and higher in your career ladder.
So, when you both said flexible timing or ready to work extra hours, I have this experience in my life itself. So, after I left Godrej and I joined MIMS as the academic director, first day at around 5:15, Sachin came to my office and he's like, Niyant, it's time, let's go. And I'm like, going where? Because I had never seen myself going 5:15 from office. We both know, because when we worked together, it was always like 9:30, 10. Most of the times we had dinner for entire year together, and sometimes it's like 2 a.m., 1 a.m. concreting and all that. So 5 o'clock, I thought, okay, he's calling me for some tea, snacks. He's like, no, pack up, let's go home. I almost had tears in my eyes that day. That, you know what, okay, 5 o'clock I get to go home, which I thought will change here. It's not changing. But yeah, that is one thing. So I think being civil engineer, or especially site, will definitely put you in that work ethic of, or should put you in that work ethic where you are ready at any time. Because like they both said, very high pressure, especially project delivery, especially the handover, where you have to work all in 14-15 hours. Like he told, in gated communities, you are lucky if you are in gated community, because the society association would have put some rules. The government has put some rules that post 6 p.m., 8 p.m. drilling work should not be done. Pre 6 a.m. work should not be done. So if you are working in such a project, slightly lucky in terms of work. But if you're working in, so we worked in an infrastructure, so metro, concreting had to be done at night, and there are a lot of things that were supposed to happen only at midnight. So we were reporting. Again, there is a question mark. Like, oh, you guys are managers, you are not reporting on time, and that is something that you can complain, you can crib, you can cry, but next day you have to show up. So in your experience, let's say, now I'll ask a question which is a slightly recent problem in what I have seen from the industry. Before clients, like you told, information to the clients is important, right? Before, clients had very less access, especially the residential clients who are not from construction background. Let's say some doctor, he has no clue about construction, so he used to accept or listen to what an architect says or what a designer says or what a contractor would say. Now, unfortunately, there is this one app which is ruining the clients, which is Pinterest. Correct. So they see Pinterest, they have 100, like I told, 10 lakh budget, they want a palace. So they see some very good Beverly Hills and they expect you to do it. So how do you convince? Like, one is, first question is, how do you convince? Second, while convincing them, doesn't it take a lot of time, which would have been more productive if you had started the project instead of convincing them?
I agree, but I want to again touch on the previous point which you told. That is, if you get in community, you're lucky. Actually, no, you're more unlucky. You're actually unlucky because your work is not happening, and you'll get more pressure from the clients and everyone. So, when there's more flexible hours, you can at least get the work done and sleep in peace. Or else, clients will never let you sleep in peace. Okay, and coming to the Pinterest, see, it's a big challenge for us to convince them, saying that like how your space cannot be achieved in this manner because maybe your room size is small or anything. A lot of reasons that. Luckily, these things are usually touched by the designer. I'll anyways tell few points which how they tackle it. As the biggest issue is proportions will never be right in Pinterest. Like TV will be kept somewhere in the sky, which is very bad for viewing angle, but it just looks good. And like the room size usually in the Pinterest is very large, and the room size which is generally done by the builders will be very small. And so many proportions will be wrong, and even many as the budget and other things won't match. So they have a lot of like talks and try to fix things up and move forward. The challenge what comes is they again scroll the Pinterest when we start executing the project. Then they come and tell, then they'll come and tell you, hey, you please stop the work. I found something really interesting. Let's change it. So, and this is where you will have to, I mean, depending on the client, you will have to just take your steps wisely. So, if the client is little bit understand, like you can take multiple approaches. Either first, directly you can say no, it's against the policy to do changes anything which is after the design, or so sometimes if you know that the client will jump, overreact, and like yeah, jump and react and say, if you just directly say, you would tell, okay, we will consider it, and just slow down the work for one day. Meanwhile, let the design team look at it and tell, oh, now it's too late. We have already I mean, you tell, okay, we'll look into it. And although if you wouldn't even forget, you wouldn't have even ordered laminates, you tell, okay, I've actually checked the factory. It's almost ready in the factory. You can just say something like that and move forward, because the cost of any design change is very expensive, very irritating for us. Because the reason is, although things are not ordered, but you might have already like the team would have already calculated the quantities and kept it ready to order. And similarly, and or you can like when it's directed, when you know that okay, you won't even buy this, you can direct to the design team again, and design team again will go to the whole process again and tell no, this is not possible. So, but this is a challenge. and especially when it comes to the site level. And more than Pinterest, it's actually becomes a problem during execution if they go travel and come back.
Hmm.
They go to Europe, they go to Paris and come back like, oh, get this. I've seen this is so beautifully done, and it's become more challenges to tell it's not possible. Well, like, I just saw this, and this I literally took a tape and measured the room. It's exactly the same size of mine. Then it like then the like you'll have to stick on to your words and say that no, it is neither. Either you stick on to say it's not, it's against the policy you change at this point of time, or it's already there in the production, and you will be billed an X amount. The minute you say the X amount, they'll be like, okay, not a problem. So yeah, this is something which we do, and I think that's the best thing which can be done.
How do you handle the same kind of challenges? I mean, not just Pinterest, nowadays you have Instagram reels posts where you have up and coming trending buildings. In Bangalore, of course, the new pubs are the new trending things, right? So of course clients would see that and want, let's say, that same light, that same facade, that same interior. So how do you tackle in corporate structure?
So normally changes in say our design or in our sector, we it's normally we take care in terms of change management. So what happens is we normally document whatever change request we are getting from a client, and for each change, what is the cost impact and what is the time impact. Uh, because what happens is psychologically it plays a lot in client's mind. Once you share and put a figure that, see, boss, if you're changing this at this point of time, your cost will increase by this amount, and your time will also get increased by this amount. So there will be delay in your project. And most of the time, since we are on fast track projects, so they cannot compromise on their timeline, and even cost wise also, they do have certain limitations. They cannot again go and take approvals for more cost. And so in that way, most of the things get restricted automatically. But yeah, if client is pretty much flexible with it, and he is okay to shell out more, so we go for it. We go for the changes, and we try to cover whatever expenses are we can foresee getting incurred while doing those changes. We quote accordingly, and we get it done.
So in terms of both residential and the corporate commercial side, do you see a problem arising where this will be even now it's almost normal that clients have this weird or unique requests that they have, and when you say the cost, they decide whether to go ahead with it or not. Do you see that increasing day by day, or do you see, what, now they are more understanding the clients, or is it more demanding? Because I'll tell you the context behind it. Before, it used to be more about the facade of, especially the residential. Before the flat culture came, when everyone has individual houses or even commercial buildings, it was all about the elevation and the facade. Like, our building should look like this from outside. Recently, that focus has gone into a mindset where facade, okay, yes, it is important, but more than that, once they come inside, it should be even better, which is where interiors has come into picture, right? So do you see that as more demanding in the coming future, or do you see that they are okay to understand whatever logic you put in as contractors?
See, actually, it depends from client to client. In fact, like what we have noticed is, surprisingly, I mean, this might be a little bit shocking, but the clients with lesser the budget is more demanding than the clients with higher budget. And I mean, we have come up with a few reasons. This might not be true. So the reason which we have understood is, and this is one of the reasons why we are only into luxury. So the what we have understood is people who's into luxury, they've already done some 2 3 homes, or at least 2 homes. So they know what can be done or not done, and they are understanding of issues which could come up at site. Okay, and people who is doing their first home and the first interiors, those people are some, I mean, they want like because they usually are a working culture, working people in organized sectors like IT, and where they don't know the concept of unorganized sector. So those are the people. They like, because it is possible in a photo, it should be possible in actual. And also they come up with the idea saying that if it's like timeline, it cannot be stressed. What if I if few clients have actually told, if I delay my software delivery or my chipset delivery, the hell will get loose, and you guys are just how can you even you guys cannot let it happen. And I was like, see, I'm not paying 1 CR per annum for my like labors here. But you guys are literally like doing that. And I mean it's a different, and those people, you guys will at least go to and get the work done. I mean, we, the labors, they have more control than us, unfortunately. Yeah, so you try to convince them and push forward, and the demand, yeah, it is there. Like as I told you, it depends on client to client. And one more point which I want to touch is what he told about timeline. You, when the client puts a lot of pressure on changes, you push a lot of timeline. Unfortunately, we don't have that comfort, because for a residential project, they have usually have one sentence: "I'm going to do this only once." Once for a very long time, or once in a lifetime. So they'll be like, okay, if you delay, generally don't pinch them as much as it pinches a like fast track project. So, but one thing which actually pinch is budget.
Budget.
Depending on, again, depending on your client. There's been client where when there was changes, we charged exorbitantly, hoping that he won't do the changes, but it's like, okay, pass. I'll send you the check tomorrow. So yeah, so there are people depending on that. So client.
And how about the corporate clients? More demanding nowadays, or do you see it's pretty much same?
It actually depends case to case, as Nabeel has pointed out. Sometimes your clients will be pretty demanding, and whatever you like try to convince them or give justification, they want it their way.
You had a Japanese client recently, na? Korean.
Yeah, yeah, correct, correct.
So how are they different from Indian clients?
But no, I mean, he was demanding with respect to timelines
Mhm.
and delivery. But whatever changes were, request came from his team, he was okay to like shell out enough. But yeah, with respect to timeline, he was pretty strict, and we had to like adhere to it.
Now, one more thing in interiors is always been materials. It's all about materials, most honestly speaking. So one is the finding of the right vendor. Second is negotiating the right price. So how do you see that? Like, let's say when I say how do you see that? Not as an employer. If you are giving that responsibility of negotiating with a vendor or finding a vendor for a material, let's say you give that responsibility to one of your managers. What do you expect manager so that
So, because as you rightly told, there's a vast variety of materials, which means like same material, slightly lesser specification can be undercut a lot.
yeah.
which which is something which is changes the specification drastically, and end up getting changes specification. So the first and foremost, which I believe is, before negotiating or the price or anything, you need to understand the technical aspect of the material and the competitors along. The reason is, because as you rightly told, the material is a very fast growing market, and every day you will find a new material. You may not find a direct comparison to compete the rates and ask him to cut it down. So you will have to be technically sound and say, see, this material also does a similar job for me, and so that you can compare these specs with some other material and then pushing down the price. So yeah, this so basically you can use this is one of the negotiation strategies which you have to adopt. And second thing is, obviously, then like depending on the type of material, like if it's plywood or something, you can go for market rates, and you can cut it down. And so yeah, it depends on material to material. But basically, assuming you are talking about the new materials, I think this is the best way to catch up and negotiate and get the price where you want.
Yeah. Similar to let's say in the corporate sector, the budget is higher, 50, 80, 100 CR kind of a project, where there are a couple of materials which alone will have a scope of 3, 4 CR. Let's say, especially granite, marble, these are high packages. So, and they will always have some kind of leverage compared to someone who has a scope of only 30 lakh, 20 lakh. So, how do you in corporate sector or in commercial projects negotiate with different types of vendors? Let's say a small vendor, like miscellaneous vendor, or let's say in this project, let's say the guy who gave us this stuff versus a guy who has given this carpet. Both different scopes, right? So, how do you see that in terms of your approach towards a small vendor versus a big vendor with lots of leverage in the project?
Depends again the quantum of money wise what's coming. And, normally it's taken up with the procurement team. And basically it's same. Like if you have, and depends on the material also. For some materials you normally not, if you don't have many competitors in the market, then they try to take advantage of it. And in that case you cannot do much about it. Like if you have to go with that material. And also in many cases what happens is we are given a list of needs, say from the PLC or maybe even clients. Sometimes even they have preferences for certain materials, maybe for carpet, because in other projects they would have used it and they have good feedback regarding that particular material. So they'll try to have the same continuity even in their other procedures as well. So in that case, we don't normally have leverage on playing around with other vendors and all.
Correct.
And again, depends. So a few niche kind of materials, the only thing is like try negotiating with the vendor and try to bring it down. Sometimes maybe giving promises of future projects and all, so it's likely to get down the prices. And yeah, I mean, that's the only tactic we can use. And in terms, if you have if there are materials which is for which there are many players in the market, then yes, you try to discuss with the competitors as well, and how the negotiation goes. 2, 3 vendors for each package, and everyone regular. That is another angle which is picking up a lot of pace nowadays. We get to learn because most of the clients nowadays they want a lead certified building or a well certified building. So what kind of materials are good there or which adhere to the lead guidelines? So all those things you can really learn. That is one aspect, which is diversity. And in terms of growth, I would suggest that which we were talking about in the initial few minutes of our discussion, which is getting your hands dirty. Even though there are different kind of profiles in our field, which is planning, say PMO, or contracts, or QS. I think your first start should be from site, because you'll get to learn a lot of things. You will know how much time the labor actually takes to paint a wall, how much time the labor actually takes to install a carpet. And then later it will help you, because in QS or in planning, obviously you'll be making a schedule which has to be realistic. So you cannot just blindly assign some resources and some days to it. So once you have the practical knowledge from site, you can then go to any of these ancillary fields. I'll say ancillary because it's not at the battlefield. Right? You will be supporting the main team which is at site. So that is one growth trajectory I would like you guys to take it up. And in terms of say like designations and all, so normally once we have a fresher at site, we will be given a part of one project, maybe one type of finishing. Suppose you'll be looking after the entire floor finishing of a floor, then we'll start adding up more responsibilities. Then maybe 2, 3 types of finishings, and then later one floor. Maybe you'll be a floor in charge for a 10-story building, and then multiple floors, and that's how it goes beyond, right? And and after a certain point of time, you'll be handling one full project which is around 5 story or 6 story building. then multiple projects within a city, say two projects, three projects, depending on the availability. And then that's how your career will progress. If you see more caliber and capability, then maybe a city, one city head kind of a role, and further maybe a regional head, and then pan India. And another thing was in interiors, in corporate interiors mostly, not just finishing, you get to learn about different kind of MEP services also, like electrical, HVAC, networking, uh, firefighting, fire alarm, public address, a lot of systems which you can like even though you're from civil right now, I think most of you are from civil building. So you get to see all those getting installed, and if you have that inquisitive thing in you, curiosity, he was telling like come with an empty waste and then start asking people, not just supervisors. If you go and ask a worker, he will tell you like how it works, and how it installed, how it can affect the system later. So you get to learn a lot of things in interior things.
So I would like to give the platform to you guys now. All right, where I'm pretty sure you would have had some doubts, or let's say you're facing some challenge in your own projects or sites or whatever it is. Feel free to ask any kind of questions on interior, civil as well, because he handles civil projects as well. And like he asked, like he started by telling ask questions. Let's start with that here itself. All right. So, any questions that you would like to know something with or have any doubts? Please go ahead.
You were mentioning about change management during a project. Have you ever seen whatever the plan and it is given by an architect? One is throughout the project, has there been no changes or change related to anything? A lot of things will depend on how well you take the requirements from the client. That is the first one. For bringing a design and reform, it's very important that you uh, try to capture as much as information possible from the client, the requirements, understand the requirements, and put it on a plan and again discuss with them. If you have a very detailed design phase, then the number of changes later when you go at site, it will be very minimum. And suppose if you have like a situation of do what you want, what he was telling you. So sometimes what happens is the client will not even say how much workstation or how many people is going to put in that facility. It's like you design, you just design. So that is kind of a red flag for us because we might assume something and do it. Later again, he'll say, no, this was not my requirement. My requirement was something else. Then it poses a bigger threat. So that's what. If you have a very detailed design phase and you've understood all the requirements, you'll actually capture major chunk of their expectations, and then later changes will be very minimal. But even then, it depends. Maybe some stakeholder and suppose the stakeholder got changed during the project, right? So the new guy might say, no, I want it in some other way. Then again, you have to oblige and again go for change. So there are a lot of factors actually. You cannot kind of generalize from project to project, keep changing.
But has it ever been zero changes? Minimal, yes, but zero.
My experience, no.
No.
There will be at least some change here and there. Come from the client or will it be sometime internal or like the designer of your own given something and then maybe the material is it can be internal as well. Now, suppose if you're importing something from some foreign country and suddenly there's some customs problem over there, some change of rules, depends, right? So in that case, we might again have to go back to them and say that, look, this is the situation we are facing. There might be some problem here. So and we foresee those risks. So let's go with some other. So even it can be internal as well. Um, it's not that just from the client side we keep getting changes, right? And sometimes if even during say the almost on the verge of design and we still find out there's something better, then we even try to get their approvals on that. Obviously, it has to be with proper justification and how it's going to help. So if they oblige. Project managers should have a mindset of avoiding people or actively even going into the building. So, see, there are 2 3 points on it. Normally, we try to avoid changes at site because it changes the momentum. You will be going here with certain speed and you want to finish. Your goal is to finish. If there's some changes, and again, the morale also changes not just for you, even for the workers at site. Because for us, it's mostly the mind related work. But the workers actually they spend a lot of time, a lot of physical effort that goes into it for making like this kind of steps. And then if the next day you go to them and say that yeah you told my so obviously it affects them. So we try to avoid them, but yeah, if certain changes are helping the organization to make little more money, so it's a welcome thing for us.
I would actually like to add to that really don't like the challenges is more than anything the morale of the entire site goes away. But if you being a manager, if you get the skill of somehow whatever changes happen and you can make sure the morale is still high, if, if that skill if you somehow get it, because it's very difficult and at least I don't see that easy to master that skill because I don't see anybody as master. If you could do that, then you will actually people, at least the design team will love you because they will love you because they love change. At least even I have not found at least one project, even the lowest project I have done, not one project that I is from internally also, especially internally. So but yeah, if you could somehow get that control of the site to keep the morale high, even if it changes, then especially the stakeholders will be very happy.
So you need to have a lot of things to add to your business story. You need to have certain level of empathy.
Yes.
Because the emotions of a worker is pretty raw. You just blunt and direct. Kya sir? That's how they react. Right? So you need to listen to them with little patience and try to pacify. Okay, भैया हो गया कर दो changes. So that is one aspect of people management which you need to have when you get onto the site. And then obviously they'll do it. It's just that you need to like handle them with care and patience.
You will be a friend of. You need to be their friend, which I tell all the vendors, the labels at the site need to be like a friend, but you need to know when to raise your voice at the right time. But the thing is that if you raise your voice every time, then they'll lose respect. So I say that as much as possible, be very friendly to them. There was a time when it was assumed that
You need to shout.
You need to shout every time, and neighbors used to accept it. In this generation, you shout at the neighbor twice. You just look this and then you would have start leaving themselves like I'm not working here, and this has happened in us. Okay, so
One of the reason for that is again demand supply.
demand supply.
Because nowadays labor shortage is a huge problem.
Like like labors is the highest in demand. Like you literally have to do a lot of things to get one labor to work at site.
So you have to literally like beg and get them to site. But if you have a very good rapport,
sometimes you could need to drive pick them up to wherever they are and go.
Yeah, we actually have done things like this. Suppose we have some night for get some biryani for them, they like do the job for you. So yeah, you have good rapport.
And
don't hesitate to take any step to get the work done. Okay, like when I say any step, and in under 1 hour, we keep opening. I mean, for some reason, opening or something is there, but electrician somewhere in the other, like, which is not there in the south, I mean, far. Either you have one of two options, like two options. It will be most time for you to literally spend to get the electrician here to your site, or just open and see what is it and just fix it back. Okay, and don't hesitate to get your hand actually dirty. End of the day, it will save your own time. Keep your egos aside. Keep your egos aside when it comes to like just somehow getting the work done. Okay? Because a lot of times ego says, okay, if I do this, what will people think? Nothing will happen. Like many times I have come in the day of cooking, there will be some rappers I get in now. End of the day, nobody will ask how it is done. People will just come and say, there's the work done. Nobody will come and ask how it was done.
any other questions?
Changes in company client or implement something within so accepting the changes with clients and business happen. But only management that is doing the work. So that is where
Which is more difficult.
Which is actually more difficult.
Actually, more difficult than managing the client.
We have to compromise on the client satisfaction and the business.
See, as I use the right word, it depends on if you can manage. And most of the time, it's easier to manage the clients than the laborers. Because unfortunately, you have more clients than more laborers. Okay, and the clients are more understanding and like because end of the day, you are at site level, your morale is gone, and your morale is gone, and getting people at the right time is difficult. Like, just example, because you're talking about the stairs. Getting the stairs done, you need the electrician at the right time to get the wires here. Like, you do the box, the wire electrician will just come to get the wires done. Just imagine the location of the system. Now, just because of that, you work for the electrician's 10 minutes work. But unfortunately, in Bangalore, the travel itself will take around 3 hours. And it's not that he's just waiting, okay, what's your name? Others. Okay, he's not sitting and waiting, okay, others is going to call me and I have to go. He's just not waiting for your call. He has a lot of other works, which means it's going to completely, like, for him to come, he'll take another 3 days to come. Then the carpentry stop. 3 days of work is stopped for the carpentry. By the 3 days, if the carpentry will completely lose the morale, will be beat. And for the carpentry to come back, he will take another 2 weeks. Which means your entire timeline, entire moral, the entire system which you have got along will be destroyed. For that reason, we avoid changes as much as possible. But as again I told you, if you find some other system, like in instance, which can be done, which you will understand at site, depending on the site conditions. Maybe the electrician right here.